Nadia Gojum Nityananda Mahajan. Nadia Gojum Nityananda Mahajan. Katya Chinam Hate Jibera Karan. Katya Chinam Hate Jibera Karan. Shraddha Bhanjan hai, Shraddha Bhanjan hai. Shraddha Bhanjan hai, Shraddha Bhanjan hai. Prabhu Agai Bhai Magiye Bhikha. Prabhu Agai Bhai Magiye Bhikha.
Lord Gauranga sings in a very sweet voice. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Whether you live at home or as a forest saint, in happiness or in distress, don't forget, please chant the holy name and fill your lips with Harinam. Bound in Maya's net, you have slaved and toiled in vain. But now that you have a human life and consciousness, please chant Radha Madhava. This life must surely end soon, and you have not worshipped Rishikesh, the master of the senses. Bhaktivinoda Thakur advises, at least once, please taste Nam Rasa, the nectar of the holy name. In that land of Nadia, on the island of Godrum, the magnanimous Lord Nityananda has opened up a marketplace of the holy name, meant for the deliverance of all fallen souls. O men of faith, O men of faith, by the order of Lord Gauranga, O brothers, I beg this one request. Please chant Krishna, worship Krishna, and follow Krishna's instructions. Being careful to remain free from offenses, just take the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is your mother, Krishna is your father, and Krishna is the treasure of your life. Giving up all improper behavior, carry on your worldly duties only in relation to Krishna, and showing the showing of compassion to all fallen souls by loudly chanting the holy name of Krishna is the essence of all forms of religion. Go Premanande! Irupa Nityananda Ananta Prakash Se Bhavika He Muni Chaitanya Radas. Thus, Lord Nityananda has unlimited incarnations. In transcendental emotion, he calls himself a servant of Lord Chaitanya. Kabo Guru, Kabo Shaka, Kabo Britya Lila, Purve Yena Tena Bhavi, Braje Kaila Kela. Sometimes he serves Lord Chaitanya as his guru. Sometimes he serves as his friend, and sometimes he serves as his servant. Just as Lord Balaram played with Krishna in these three different modes in Braja. Playing like a bull, Lord Balaram fights with Krishna head to head. And sometimes Lord Krishna massages the feet of Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram considers himself a servant, and he knows Krishna to be his master. Thus he regards himself as a fragment of his plenary portion. Acting just like ordinary boys, they played like roaring bulls as they fought each other, and they imitated the calls of various animals. Sometimes, when Lord Krishna's elder brother Balaram felt tired after playing and lay his head on the lap of a cowherd boy, Lord Krishna himself served him by massaging his feet. Who is this mystic power? Where has she come from? Is she a demigod or a demigoddess? She must be the illusory energy of my master, Lord Krishna, for who else can bewilder me? Lord Balaram spoke like that when Krishna was massaging his feet. Then he because he considers himself always the servant of Krishna, then he's saying, how has it come that my Lord and Master is massaging my feet? This is the work of the Yogamaya. This is the Lord's own personal mystical potency. Otherwise, how I can become bewildered? Only the Lord's own potency can bewilder me and put me in this position, position of accepting service from his Master. What is the value of the throne to Lord Krishna? The masters of the various planetary systems accept the dust of his lotus feet on their crowned heads. That dust makes the holy places sacred. And even Lord Balaram, Lord Shiva, Lakshmi, and I myself, who are all portions of his plenary portion, eternally carry that dust on our head. I mention here, when the Kauravas to flatter Baladev, so that he would carry would be their ally, spoke ill of Krishna, Lord Balaram was angry and spoke this verse from Bhagavatam. Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller, and all others are his servants. They dance as he makes them do so. Lord Chaitanya is also the only controller, Ekala Ishwar. All others are his associates and servants, Sarabhritya. His elders, such as Lord Nityananda, Advaitacharya, and Srivas Thakur, as well as his other devotees, whether his juniors, his equals, or his superiors, all are his servants who help him in his pastimes. Lord Gauranga fulfills his aims with their help. Sri Advaitacharya and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who are plenary parts of the Supreme Lord, are his principal associates. With these two, the Lord performs his pastimes in various ways. Lord Advaitacharya is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Lord Chaitanya accepts him as his preceptor, Advaitacharya is actually a servant of the Supreme Lord. I cannot describe the truth of Advaitacharya. He has delivered the entire world by making Lord Chaitanya appear. Some time ago, maybe a few months back, or maybe it was last year, there was some discussion amongst devotees internationally, something about the value or the necessity of Advaitacharya. And I forget everything that was being said, but on one side there was a minimization of Advaitacharya, that Advaitacharya does not give one admittance into Brajalila, or I think maybe it was mentioned Madhurya Rasa and Krishna Prema. And the other side pointed out that this was not an accurate way to think about Advaitacharya. Advaitacharya, Sadashiva Mahavishnu. He is not directly the manifestation of one of the residents, eternal associates of Krishna at Braj, like Lalita or Vishaka or a Manjari as such. He's the manifestation of Sadashiva and Mahavishnu combined. However, it was pointed out with reference to Srila Sridhar Maharaj and also to other Gaudiya Acharyas that it is by the mercy of Advaitacharya that Mahaprabhu came to this world, appeared in this world. So in that way, he did not just give a few individuals entrance into Krishna Lila, but he gave the whole world. For many thousands of years, all that will come in this world have a chance to enter in the higher planes of transcendence by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Advaitacharya himself caused the Lord to come down. So you have one section trying to minimize, trying to give focus in Madhurya Ras, but at the same time minimizing a personality like Advaitacharya. And then we see how Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he says, it is impossible. I cannot fully describe to you the glories of Advaitacharya. He does not think, well, Advaitacharya plays a nominal role here, because we fallen jivas who have just come from, America dish and Russia dish and all these Malecha dishes. Now we're entering Madhurya Ras, and Advaita Acharya has some nominal role to play in our benefit. How this type of thinking evolves must be also the potency of the Supreme Lord. But it is not Yoga Maya, it is called Mahamaya. That is not divine. There is a divine illusion causing our thinking, and there is a non-divine, a mundane illusion causing our thinking. But we are always caused to think. We are not the doer, either materially or spiritually. All that the living entities do in the material world or in the spiritual world depends on inspiration. They will be inspired by the mundane energy of the Lord, and they'll create atom bombs and wage war with each other, or they will do so many things. They'll create music and architecture and so many things of the mundane nature, so much art they'll create, and so many things they'll create. But without inspiration, they don't create. An artist, a creator, he has to have inspiration. Those who have no inspiration, they have writer's block. They cannot write. They sit in front of their expensive typewriter computer. They can't say anything. They're blocked. Only when getting inspiration. So one side inspiration comes from Maya's kingdom. And another side inspiration comes from the eternal kingdom, from Goloka, from Vaikuntha, from Vrindavan itself. Inspired by Krishna himself and inspired by Krishna's associates. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is we would say, a super inspired personality. And he speaks of Advaita Acharya with such reverence and such respect and appreciation. And he points out in a gist the totality of his glories. If it were not for him, Lord Gauranga would not have descended. Shri Advaita Acharya Prabhu ki jai. And then he says, I cannot describe that truth of Advaita Acharya. He has delivered the entire world by making Lord Krishna descend. And that means in the form of Sri Chaitanya. Lord Nityananda's Swarup formerly appeared as Lakshman and served Lord Rama as his younger brother. The activities of Lord Rama were full of suffering, but Lakshman, of his own accord, he tolerated the suffering. As a younger brother, he could not stop Lord Rama from his resolution, and so he remained silent, although unhappy in his mind. But when Lord Krishna appeared, he, Balaram, or Lakshman, became his elder brother to serve him to his heart's content and make him enjoy all sorts of happiness. So in Ram Leela, Rama means Krishna, and Sita means Srimati Radharani, and Lakshman means Balaram, brother. Lakshman is brother of Ram, Balaram the brother of Krishna. In Ram Leela, Lord Rama, he lives in the forest. He lives many years in exile. He suffers many hardships. And even after returning to his kingdom, Ayodhya, he has to banish Sita from his kingdom. He has to banish Sita again to the forest, to the ashram of a rishi, to show the people that good government is promised to everyone, not just to the rich or famous or those who are close to the king, but good government for all, even good government for the rascals and those who don't deserve it. That was his role. He's showing these things. This type of suffering was intolerable for Lakshman to see, but he had to bear it because he is the younger brother. We see practically in the culture in India, the younger brother has to bear so many things from his older brother. I see that practically. It's something to do with the deep culture. So there was Lakshman in the position of the younger brother, and whatever decision Ram took, he had to accept that. You see, he had to accept that. But during Ram Leela, then Lakshman promised, I will never become your younger brother again. The next time, I'm going to be your older brother. And then I won't have to tolerate this. So then in the next incarnation, that's Krishna and Balaram. And of course Balaram being the elder brother. Then he, how he says here, he serves Krishna But he makes him to enjoy all types of happiness. He wants to see Krishna is enjoying and always in happiness. Is counteracting what he had to bear when he appeared along with Lord Rama. So sometimes people say Lord Rama is superior because he appeared first. Some people say, no, Krishna is superior, and even amongst Vaishnavas, this little argument is going on. So one thing which is said is there's no beginning to a circle. A circle is simply going on. The next time Rama appears, someone may say, oh, Krishna appeared before that. They may remember that Krishna appeared, then Rama appeared. They're going in a circle. We do not understand who is superior by who appeared first, actually, in terms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although you could say he kept the best for last. And the last avatar was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that is the best of all avatars. That is Sarva Avatar. All avatars in one avatar. All avatars in one avatar. Krishna is there, even Radha Krishna is there. Narasingha is there, Varaha is there, Vamana. All avatars, Sava Avatar, Gaura Avatar. Mahaprabhu is the culmination of all avatars. So the best for last. But incidentally, we do not judge, we're not the judge, but we do not understand the superiority of one avatar or one personality above another, even if it includes the Parshads or the Jivas, according to the time they appeared in. But rather their contribution is to be considered, and their bhava, or their mellow and rasa. Someone will say, I heard someone said the other day, one devotee's son in Mangalore said, well, how do I know Jesus isn't the one? Someone may say, well, how do I know Allah is not the one? Everybody says their God is the one, their prophet is the one. Yes, that's true. You can't do it unless you think it's best. Even the druggies, they think it's best. They think that God's gift to humanity is intoxication, you see. Or that God is intoxication. Or that God is love, that God is sex even. And they believe it. And therefore they live like that. So you have to believe in what you do, you see. So then some people see that, well, everybody says they're the best, everybody says their thing is the highest, then they become discouraged. There's no way to tell, oh, it's all one. Yatamat tatapat, it's all one. Worship any god in India, Ganesh, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Krishna, Varaha, anything, whatever, the same. These people, be they Indian or foreign, whether they're querying about Jesus or Vishnu or Ganesh or the impersonal Brahman, if they want to know what is supreme, they will have to look deeply into the subject. They cannot understand the ultimate goal of life by what we call a casual perusal of the evidence, a casual glance over the evidence. They will have to look deep into that, and they will have to apply the practice also, because it is ultimately the experience which confirms reality. It is the experience which confirms the existence of God. And the experience is based on two things: our faith, Shraddha, and our application, our practicing life. Practicing life and faith. This is the confirmation. I mentioned to Dhruva Prabhu the other day, you can't prove that Krishna is God. You can't prove it. You can establish so many things as evidence, but ultimately the only proof is your experience. How do you know? Once Srila Prabhupada asked, how do you know Krishna is God? Somebody said, it says in the scriptures. He said, there are many scriptures that say many things. Now, all the acharyas have said, so many saints in so many countries, they have also said. You may say, it says in Bhagavad Gita, but someone will say, well, it says in the Quran, it says in the Torah, it says in the Bible, you see. Well, who has faith, he will believe in a particular way. But Prabhupada was saying, how do you know? And I believe that one devotee then said, Prabhupada, you have said. And Prabhupada didn't even accept that. No. How do you know? And then one devotee standing in the back said, Krishna's in the heart, and he reveals himself. And Prabhupada turned and pointed to the back and said, yes, That is the answer. So you cannot prove, lastly, even to yourself, that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, or Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, or Vishnu is. You can't prove any of these things to yourself ultimately to a point of complete satisfaction and enlightenment unless you have the experience. And to have the experience, we have to have faith. The foremost principle in spiritual life, in Krishna consciousness, is Shraddha, faith. Everything is based on that. And the development of faith manifests in different stages of spiritual advancement. So, what I was saying, however, in discussing with others, it comes to the point of rasa. This is how you establish the superiority in Vishnu Tattva. Basic knowledge will establish the superiority of Krishna consciousness over Judaism, over Islam, and over Christianity, and all sorts of shamanistic religions and all types of things that are out there in the New Age. Knowledge will establish Krishna consciousness as superior to any of those systems. There isn't a superior body of knowledge. And you don't have to establish about rasa in all those that I just mentioned, because there is no rasa. And those religions don't come to the point of rasa. They are actually sub-religious religions. They are not even full-fledged religions, because of the ones I just mentioned, none of them descend from the spiritual world. What is that word? What is that one? Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Real religion is descending and comes from the spiritual platform. And these others mentioned Christianity, Islam, they're all generated from this material world. They're not descending. Once Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was asked, what is the alignment? What is the similarity or everything between Christianity and Krishna consciousness? He said, there is none. There are no similarities. He said, Krishna consciousness is a fully descending system which has come from the spiritual world, and this Christianity is generated out of the deserts of Eastern Europe or something like that. It is not descending. So those are established by knowledge. But then you enter into Sri Vaishnavism, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka, Vishnu Swami, and their not necessarily deviation, but diversions. You enter into Vaishnavism. Then how to establish Krishna consciousness, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how to establish him in his proper position as the supreme goal in transcendental religion. Understand? That is not by knowledge. That is not by knowledge. They will match, the Sri Vaishnavas and Madhvas, they will match tit for tat knowledge, what we have to offer. Because the plane of Mahaprabhu's religion itself has left knowledge behind. It is called Jnana Sunya Bhakti. Sri Vaishnava, all these other religions, they're in Jnana Mishra Bhakti. But Mahaprabhu has rejected Jnana Mishra Bhakti, and he has requested a higher plane to descend. Jnana Sunya Bhakti. Free from knowledge. Knowledge means a calculation. A calculation. You cannot have love when there's a calculation. Pure love. Any calculation. You have a friend. You love in friendship. Or wife, or husband, or anything in friendship. In conjugal. Different types of love are there. But if you are calculating based on their wealth, based on their social influence, calculation, and you calculate your relationship based on these things, it will not be pure, and therefore it will not be ultimately enduring. It will have some quality of being jaded. So Mahaprabhu has rejected knowledge, actually. And that is called Jnana Sunya Bhakti. No calculation, no expectation, only surrender. It is based on surrender, purely surrendering and fulfilling the wishes and desires of the Supreme Lord. So the other Vaishnava Sampradayas, they're also an ocean of knowledge. Otherwise, why are we always going to them to find out something? Be it about the universe, be it about deity worship. There are so many things. Even we find that many of these followers of Mahaprabhu, they run to other religions and other acharyas. Of course, that's not so bad. They even run to psychiatrists, they run to soothsayers, they run to what do they call these people that chase out ghosts?
Exorcists.
Exorcists. They run hither and thither and everywhere. They go into caves and look for druids. They run everywhere. These are not the true followers of Mahaprabhu. These are the wayward followers. But even amongst those who are holding close to the line, we see that they often go to these other sampradayas for knowledge. You see. So if knowledge is our basis, as it was to establish Krishna consciousness superior to Christianity and other things, then these other religions, they may become established superior to Krishna consciousness. So it is not knowledge. There we depart to another plane, and they have to come to that platform with us, because in all Vaishnava religion there is rasa. There is rasa. Dasiras, Sakiras, there is rasa. Vatsalya ras. But only in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, since the time of Madhavendra Puri, is there Madhurya ras. And 300 or 400 years ago it became the issue to establish the supremacy of religion based on rasa. And it was done. It was done thoroughly by Jiva Goswami and his Sandarbhas. And then it was shown elegantly also in the writings of the other Goswamis and those who followed in their footsteps. It was shown. And due to that, then many people who have no place in Vrindavan, they came to Vrindavan to get established in this new concept. Even Ranganath people came there and established huge Ranganath temple in Vrindavan. Actually, they have no business there. Nimbarkas and others then began to fabricate literature of their own lineage that showed Madhurya Ras and all these things there, so that they did not have to forego the obvious conclusion that the highest religion that has ever come to the human race is that which was presented by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers. So mischief was done. And then even amongst those who followed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also mischief has been done. Even those who accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mischief has been done. That mischief we call Sahajiyism. Different brands of Sahajiyism. That means, in gist, the cheapening process. Make it cheap. Pull it down and equate it with the mundane experience and make it available to all with no qualification and no endeavor whatsoever. Bring the whole thing down to a lower level. We don't want to pay the price. We want to bargain. We want to haggle. We want to somehow bring the price down and make it cheap and easily acceptable. This is Sahajiyism. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it available to everyone, but we have to reach for it. We have to try for it. We cannot be self-deceivers and at the same time expect to be a recipient of the highest gift of divine love. We cannot be a self-deceiver. And Sahajiyism, more or less, in its various shades, is self-deceiving and worse. Of course, in many cases, it is much, much worse. It is almost criminal in places. It is so deceitful and so corrupted. But in many places, it's very mildly self-deceptive. And when there is self-deception, then we again find the inspiration which we are getting comes from Maya's kingdom, not from Yoga Maya, but from Mahamaya. And we draw very many erroneous conclusions and even seem to find the evidence for them in Shastra. Like in the Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Baba section, they conclude that Nityananda Prabhu is Radharani. This is one of their erroneous conclusions. Where they got this thing? Where they got this? Then they also have another one that Nityananda and Janavi Devi appeared as, and they name two personalities. They name one of their acharyas and say that Nityananda and Janavi Devi appeared as that particular acharya. I don't think it was Ramdas, it was a guru before Ramdas. Ramdas's guru, one Bhagavat something or something his name is. And they conclude that as Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna, similarly, this guru they say is Balaram, not Balaram and Revati. When I heard this, I said, what would be the use of it? What's the ontological use of it? Because Mahaprabhu appeared 2 in 1, therefore now there's a trend, everybody goes 2 in 1. What is the ontological use of it? How does it build in reality, what aspect in Ras and Leela does it play? And the answer is nothing. It's just simply a concoction. And if it were to happen, we would expect, well, it would have happened around the same time of Mahaprabhu. Not 150 or 250 years later, to no avail other than to give some excitement in a small group somewhere of people. Nowhere mentioned in scriptures also. Nowhere mentioned. No support of it anywhere. So, spiritual practitioners, with the inspiration of Mahamaya, they evolve wonderful concoctions, wonderful types of concoctions. They evolve the meaning of many things. There is a meaning to divine, we can say to all things divine. However, it is not our business to press ourselves. What is the meaning? What is the meaning? What is the meaning? Then that means we're riding the wave of knowledge seeking. We want to know the meaning. The real meaning is serve the higher conception. You have been shown enough to know what is the Supreme Lord, who are his dearmost associates, etc. Now serve them. Not that, oh, now you know this, you want to press the meaning of everything related to Krishna. Everything divine. You want to press the meaning. Those things which are most confidential, you want to press. What is the meaning? What is the meaning? The meaning is they're confidential. And you have no business pressing the meaning. There is a defect there, knowledge seeking. Even about Krishna, particularly about Krishna's Leela. This may be a defect within us. And if we allow this defect to overwhelm us in the name of spiritual advancement, actually we will not make any we may not make any spiritual advancement at all. Rather, we might find ourselves in the realm of aparad, making offenses. And offenses means then there's a ledger against us, and we're barred from that thing we thought we were intimately inquiring about. Some people might think that our Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, did not know very much about higher subjects. Some people have been so bold as to say that. These people are quite much in that lower inspiration to think and to say like that. But they base this on the fact that he did not talk extensively about higher subjects. But on occasion he did. And on occasion he quoted a verse here or there or something, which you don't find him talking about in hundreds and thousands of lectures. Because that thing was not for the talk. That was not even for the talk from the Vyasa-san. So, it is not proof of someone's status by how high a thing they talk about. Rather, in many cases, it's just the opposite. Those who actually have the higher realization, have attained the higher leelas and higher ras, are sometimes found never to discuss these things, and they are found to become very disturbed and even angry when the higher leela of Krishna is under discussion. There is one lecture it's a darshan of Srila Prabhupada in Jagannath Puri, and this group of filmmakers came to see him. And they were going to make Krishna Leela, Rasa Leela movie of some sort. And they wanted his blessings. And he said no. And then he said something, it cannot be given. Oh, but Swami, we're going to follow the classical Orissan style. We're going to do it according to, Vedic drama and everything. No, he said. You have never seen, if you look this up, it's an hour and something conversation, you have never seen him say no so many times in 1 hour. In fact, he started saying no, no, no. And they would beg the issue and he would go no, no, no. He'd say no 3 or 4 or 5 times. So finally okay, we'll do a movie about Vatsalya Ras, Mother Yasoda, Krishna, like that, you give your blessings. No, cannot show. And finally, I think it boiled down to, if you want to make a movie about Kurukshetra and Bhagavad Gita. This may do good to the people. All this other stuff just misleads them. You cannot see Rasa. Once these dramas in Vrindavan, classical dramas, go there. You'll never find a Gaudiya Vaishnava there. No, you'll never find a sannyasi there, a Gaudiya Brahmachari there, any follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. You'll never see it in any of these classical performances. Never. And when Srila Prabhupada was asked about them, he said, yes, if you have seen Rasa Leela, then you may appreciate this Rasa Leela dance. But otherwise, You're in the space of enjoying. Like we watch a movie, be it a documentary or just an action movie or what it is. If you watch a movie, be truthful, you're enjoying. You listen to classical music, you're enjoying the music. It's very hard not to enjoy. So, okay, listen to some music, listen to some classical music, and enjoy that, you see. You want to see a film, a drama, there are different types. You may see Mahabharata type of thing, or some mundane thing, history, Schindler's List, but actually we are enjoying there, you see. But you don't want to do that in relation to Krishna. You don't want to go to Krishna's Leela for your enjoyment. This is the worst of the worst, you see. And that's what will happen. We simply enjoy. And suddenly Krishna's drama Leela is being performed, his dance with the gopis, for what? Our entertainment. You see. There is a class of people, say, I forget what it's called, Sadhakarani Bhav or something. It is emotion which is drawn up from the viewer by watching such drama. This is true. In this case, all the performers must be pure devotees of the Supreme Lord, and all the people who watch it, they should be of the equal status of pure devotion. Then, such dramas, when performed, actually awaken. Actually, at that point, the Supreme Lord manifests in that drama just like in the form of a deity. And the Leela is performed, and this awakens the ecstatic feelings of love of those devotees who are witness to that, you see. But that is very hard group to put together, you see. A dance troupe that are all pure devotees of the Supreme Lord and an audience. Very hard to put together because it is not a cheap thing to be a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. Not a cheap thing at all. Not a cheap thing. So we want to protect ourselves from making offense. And it is an offense to enjoy. Even Mahaprasadam should be respected and honored, taken, not enjoyed. Don't lick your lips just because it's sweet or salty or it has your particular type of taste. Lick your lips and remember that its taste is because it has been tasted by Krishna. And it is His mercy on the fallen souls. Otherwise, if we eat Mahaprasadam to satisfy our senses, then we fall into Maya. We don't get the real benefits of the Mahaprasadam. It must be taken with great appreciation. Somebody wrote a letter, some Kamal, you remember that? Some letter, somebody named Kamal wants to come here and he wants to know what kind of food we have here. So when I write back, I'm going to tell him, well, in this ashram there is no food. And he said, is it possible for me to bring food from outside? And I'm going to tell him, no, there's about 20 people here, but nobody eats food. We only take Krishna Prasadam, and there's plenty of that, and you don't even have to bring any of it with you, So he just thinks the ashram is some sort of a hotel type of thing.
From Melkoti, right?
Yeah. Some man. But he asked what kind of food. I went, food? I don't take food here. Take prasadam. Krishna's mercy. But if you forget that prasadam means Krishna's mercy, then again you may find yourself just eating food and you don't get any benefit from that. So there has to be some conscious awareness in what we're dealing with. The holy name of Krishna. I've mentioned many times T-shirts and things with Krishna's picture on them. The one boy got himself a little pendant of Krishna, and I told him, where are you going to wear that? You don't wear that when you sleep. Don't wear that when you go to bathroom, toilet. You don't wear that there. Why? Because that's non-different than Krishna. Krishna's form in Krishna. And when we have a vision awakened by love of Krishna, we'll see these things more. They're not rules. They're not rules. They're real. They're real. Srila Prabhupada saw that nice, beautiful T-shirt of Jagannath, which was hand embroidered in Russia or somewhere. Beautiful things they make. Beautiful bead bags of Jagannath and Prabhupada. And then somebody came in with that T-shirt on, and he looked over and saw that, and if he'd been a little younger, he would have been out of his bed and on the floor and dandavats in front of that T-shirt. Because with his vision, that is non-different than Jagannath. So we told, well, whoever owns that T-shirt should have it on an altar by now. If they understood what they experienced when they went for the darshan. So those things which are Krishna himself, those things which are non-different than Krishna, or Krishnized by Krishna, even what is that food touched by prasadam is called prasadi, because it came in touch with prasadam. You see? There's the Mahaprasad and the Prasad, and then sometimes we take it and we put it in another pot, and that becomes Prasad. That's called Prasadi, actually. And Prasadam, and Mahaprasadam, and Mahaprasadam, gradations. And if we forget about these gradations and the proper dealings at any time in the chain, it may turn mundane again, right in front of us. So how to deal with all things which are divine, that we have to pay special and close attention. All right, so back to a little closer here to today's event, the appearance of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. The ocean of Sri Nityananda Prabhu's glory is infinite and unfathomable. Only by his mercy can I touch even a drop of it. Please listen to another glory of his mercy. He made a fallen living entity climb to the highest limit. To disclose it is not proper, for it should be kept confidential or secret, like the Vedas. Yet I shall speak of it to make his mercy known to all. So here's a small point. Now, I'll try not to get back to the reading, but again, there are confidential things, and oftentimes we hear they're not to be disclosed. Yet it is pointed out to us, but they disclose it. Someone discloses this, you see. Someone discloses this. The meeting of Ramananda Roy and Mahaprabhu on the bank of the Godavari is similar. At the end of the meeting, Mahaprabhu told him, don't tell anybody about this or what you saw. But obviously he did, or we wouldn't read about it in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nityananda Prabhu himself was told by Mahaprabhu, you go to Bengal and preach Krishna Nam. But he went to Bengal and he didn't preach Krishna Nam. He preached Gauranga Nam. So different things like that showing there's something parallel. It's a higher thing, it could not be given. So the could not be given, but it must be given. But it should not be given. Yeah? Ramanuja was told, don't give this mantra to anyone because this mantra has the potency to liberate all living beings. He went to the center of town and stood up on this place, I think in Sri Rangam, and broadcast the mantra to everyone to hear. And in this way passed the test of his guru, ultimately. So one thing that is there is that these things should not be given for our own prestige. To get the name as being very learned, we should not present this knowledge. To receive the reputation of being very learned in a big acharya, or not pointed to anyone, but a rasikacharya or any type of thing like that, this knowledge is not meant for that purpose. But higher knowledge is meant only for those who are fit to receive it. And those who have it may pass it on to those fit candidates at the appropriate time. And if it is passed on just to get a big following, just to get many disciples, just to collect money and all these things, then one may appear to be a big acharya, but actually not. One may find himself barred from the very thing that he wants to talk so freely about. Even the desire to be a big acharya is Maya. Even the desire, I will preach and save the world, this is Maya. I heard recently there were 2 Vaishnavas at a gathering. They talked. At the end, each Vaishnava asked the devotees for a humble benediction. One of the Vaishnavas asked, I pray to all the assembled devotees to please bless me that I will spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And the other one said, I pray to the assembled devotees that they bless me that I never become proud in Krishna consciousness. And of the two, we are drawn towards the second. Because the first, as Srila Maharaj says, we should not think that we are the self-appointed world acharya. And the danger of false pride is quite an eminent danger on the spiritual path. Such a subtle thing, pride, false pride, can ruin and destroy everything. If Krishna wants a blind man to see, if he wants a lame man to dance, he will do so. That lame man need not pray for that. On the Lord's bidding, he will choose someone. As we see practically in these modern times, he chose Srila Prabhupada, the number one most unlikely candidate in the whole of the Gaudiya Math, to be selected to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. He was not especially learned more than his god brothers. In fact, some of his god brothers were vastly learned. Even in his Sanskrit, he does not get rated as a Sanskrit scholar who studied Harinam, Amrit, Vyakarna, and all these high Sanskrit literatures. He had a working ability in Sanskrit, much like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He did not compose Sanskrit prayers. Any of his poems and things were written in his native Bengali and so forth. So, in one sense, highly unlearned. He was a householder and did not even take sannyas till he was almost 60 years old. By, social measure, not a likely candidate, you see. But yet selected by Krishna for the purity within, not for the glamour without. We praise, and many people praise Srila Prabhupada and say many things about him externally, but actually he was a very simple person. He was a very simple person. He was not very extravagant in the world. He only did 2 or 3 things, and he just did them all day long, which included honoring prasadam, chanting japa, doing kirtan, singing he'd sing the same bhajan every day. Every day. Jai Radha Madhava. He'd sing it every day. Very simple. He would give a class which would arrive at 45 minutes as if, he had an alarm clock on his Vyasa-san to tell him when to stop. He would give a simple class. He would go on a walk. He would hold discussions with people in his room, devotees, guests, and things like this. And before that, his life was even simpler than that. He was not what you call a charismatic character. A lot of people are charismatic, and spiritually they're 0. Prabhupada was not charismatic. Personally, I find it very inappropriate when people call him the charismatic leader of the Hare Krishna movement. He was not charismatic. Charismatic is a material quality, and it's found in even the most foolish of people sometimes. Movie stars, the most immoral of people, and degraded people are oftentimes very charismatic, and of course they will use this and attract so many fools and attract people to them. But Srila Prabhupada was not charismatic. He was purely devoted to the order of his Guru and to Krishna. And he was endowed with the potency of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. In the words of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Nityananda Prabhu lived in his body for 12 years and made him dance. And you don't hear about it much, but over here on this side, we say that the withdrawal of Srila Prabhupada from the world, historically it is not due to any disease. There is no recorded disease. There were so many doctors. A bunch of fools tried to establish their higher realization that it was due to poison or murder. It's probably a sin to even remember such a concept, or to speak it like I just did. I'll probably have to see what hell looks like just for having recalled their stupidity. Whereas the real reason for his withdrawal from the world is rarely mentioned, if ever it is mentioned. And that is due to the withdrawal of Nityananda Prabhu. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. One fine day, Nityananda Prabhu descended to make him dance all over the world. And one fine day, according to his own will, he withdrew. And when he withdrew, Srila Prabhupada also withdrew. If you ever chance to stumble across, or otherwise search and find out the symptoms of Gadadhar Pandit in his feelings of separation after the disappearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gadadhar Pandit, and his symptoms of separation that manifest in him physically, if you ever happen to find them and read them, and then go and read the symptoms of Prabhupada in his last 6 months, they are parallel to ditto. They are the symptoms of separation. They are not old age. They are not inflicted by any disease. They are, of course, inflicted by the disease of the heart of Vipralambha, separation for his Lord, for his Master. And no other cause. That is the cause. So, the most unlikely candidate, I started by saying, the most unlikely candidate, not based on his knowledge, not based on his life of tapasya. Of course, he may say himself that tapasya was my family. Family life is also tapasya. Great tapasya. But he wasn't a tyagi. a renunciate. He never lived in the brahmachari ashram or any of these things. So very highly unlikely to succeed. Yet Krishna chose him. And it doesn't mean that there were no one else was pure. No one else was pure. That is also not the way to look at it. In the time of Rupa and Sanatan, there were many devotees. Not only were they pure, they were descended parshads of the Supreme Lord. Even Swarup Damodar, who is Lalita Devi, or Rai Ramananda, who is Vishaka. But Mahaprabhu selected Rupa Goswami. He found something within Rupa Goswami that very much pleased him. He was very much satisfied with that. And therefore he appointed Rupa Goswami and inspired him with the task of presenting the principal Ras Shastras and formed the basis of this Madhurya Sampradaya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya. Similarly, the Supreme Lord must have found something very pleasing, very wonderful, and very charming within our Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, he would not have selected him amongst a host of other highly qualified Vaishnavas at the time. Something very divine he found within him that pleased him greatly. And ultimately, that may be known only to the Supreme Lord himself. Although we may feel some inspiration to say, well, because Prabhupada was focused just on the order of his guru, and indeed he said that himself. Or we may say, because he had such love of Krishna. And it may be all, it may be part of. But the point is, the Lord does choose his representatives to do the type of work that Srila Prabhupada did. And it has been pointed out that only the potency of Nityananda Prabhu, or Lord Baladev, can match that activities. In other words, it's humanly impossible even for a Vaishnava to do the things that Srila Prabhupada did. It must be the potency of the Supreme Lord himself, who is in charge of propagation. Baladev, Nityananda, there for propagating. We're all trying to propagate. But why every preacher not the same? In some, their family is Krishna conscious. In other, their village. In other, estate. I recently heard one of my godbrothers initiated 600 people in one day. We don't even get 6 people to come here in a day, or to speak of 600. So, what was I saying? I forgot. What was I saying? What was I saying? Oh, yes. So, on such a scale as what Srila Prabhupada did, it was the opinion of other senior Vaishnavas at the time that this can only be due to the direct intervention, the direct mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. Therefore, he was called Shaktivesh Avatar of Nityananda. The Shakti, he was empowered with the potency of Sri Nityananda Prabhu to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Some people try to assign that he was a good businessman. Well, if he was such a good businessman, why his business failed? They say that. Even the history books try to write, well, he was a good businessman. And why his business failed in Calcutta and Allahabad if he was such a hotshot businessman? And then he just applied the same corporate structures. Why so? Not true. He was charismatic. He wasn't charismatic. He was very simple. Of course, simplicity itself may have its potency, attraction. That's true. But he was not a charismatic personality. Otherwise, he wouldn't be historically the most unlikely to succeed. In Gaudiya Math, he'd be heralded as some charismatic householder, very charismatic. He wasn't charismatic. He was very humble and he was very, very simple. He was very, very determined. He was a spiritual storehouse and dynamo of spiritual qualities, which are not always manifest externally. But certainly, charisma was not a quality of Srila Prabhupada. It's actually an insult. But people who don't know any better, they may say it. But certainly devotees should not say, oh, Prabhupada was very charismatic. It's a mundane quality. He was not successful based on charisma. He was not successful based even on his knowledge. He was successful based on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the mercy of his spiritual master. That was the basis of his success. And if you don't believe it, ask him, because that's what he himself says. And not just out of great humility. Humility is there, but it was also the truth spoken in great humility. by the mercy of his spiritual master, by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just before arriving to America, he lodged his plea. He logged his plea to the Supreme Lord. And he acknowledged, when he prayed to Krishna, that Srimati Radharani is my Guru Dev. Now, and he said, in the form of my Guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, Srimati Radharani, your dearmost, has given me this order. So he tied Krishna in a loving affection. The order which I have come to this land to execute is given by my Guru, who is the representative of Srimati Radharani, who is so dear to you. Then he said, basically what he said, if you want to get onto the good side of Radharani, this is your chance. Empower me to succeed in this order, and she will be pleased with you. He just tied the kind of a loving circle which the Lord finds no escape from. And he did just that. And he empowered him for this work. So, Srila Maharaj used to say, because of the empowerment of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he may have couched his own Madhurya sentiments, and certainly he did. We see much of Prabhupada's sentiments in his preaching Sankirtan movement, establishing Krishna Balaram deities and such, is in Sakyaras. There is much of that. But in the very beginning, he also established that Radharani is his Guru. Radharani is Guru only in Madhurya Ras. Radharani is not Guru in Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, Dasiras, and so forth. Baladev is the Guru Tattva, Nityananda Prabhu is the Guru Tattva for the three rasas, or Shanta sometimes, Dasya, Sakya, and Vatsalya. But only Radharani is the Guru in Madhurya Ras. Not anyone else. She is the Supreme Guru Tattva. So, in one sense, he's establishing his position in the beginning of his prayer. But when the potency of Nityananda Prabhu came to him for this work, then his Madhurya sentiments were kept in the background, and he performed the work that he was empowered to perform. So these choices are made. Who is empowered, who is not empowered? These choices are the sole choice of the Supreme Lord himself. But all of us should try to be a recipient for whatever the Supreme Lord wishes us to do. And it's important to remember, as we sang this song, Krishna is your mother, Krishna is your father, Krishna is your most worshipful Lord. Krishna is everything. You'll find this repeatedly said in poems of great devotees and bhajans, and even it is written in different places in Vedas, Puranas. Krishna is everything. And we live our worldly life with mother, father, brother, sister, friend, uncle, country, and all these things in relation to Krishna. If we miss that connection to Krishna, then it is simply a mundane life, and we are afloat on the ocean of infinite misery with no hope of being brought to the land. So certainly we're way out there in the ocean, and we have to begin somewhere. And in the end, we have to, everything, Krishna has to be our everything. By the end, there is an end too. In this play, this boy is 6 years old, his end will be after 80 or 90 years, everybody in this room probably will be gone. But there's an end to all. Even the great redwoods that stand out there in Yosemite Forest that are 5,000 years old, there will be an end to those trees. Everyone has their... In the end, our everything should be Krishna consciousness. Our everything should be Krishna. Our every vision should be about Krishna. Our every thought should be about Krishna. How close are we to that now? And how close are we to death now? Well, no one knows. We've all been surprised when people younger than us died. No one can say, oh, I'm a little closer because I am, Maharaj is 59, I am 57, we're closer to death than you. No one can say. Because you are young, you automatically live. God bless, you'll live to be 100. But no one can say for sure. So we don't look around and think, who's next? We should look within and say, oh, I could be next. Because one day our day comes. Before the end, our everything should be Krishna. Right down to every atom of our existence, every atom of our body should be devoted to Krishna and know nothing but Krishna. That is the goal of Krishna consciousness. And on the way, we try to happily tell as many people as we can about the happy life of Krishna consciousness, about the supreme goal of life. And for as many who want to accept it, we're prepared to accept them. Prabhupada said, send me the world, I will feed them. They were complaining about Krishna consciousness and people stopping work and how we'll feed the world. He said, just send them to me. You just send them to me, I'll feed them. Such a bold statement. Swami, we're going to send you the whole world and you're going to feed them. Well, send them means they're going to come in Krishna consciousness. Yes, we're going to feed them all. Krishna will. If the whole world came, I wouldn't be surprised if rice started growing in the clouds and floating down to the earth. Why not? It used to sometimes rain milk and all these things used to happen in pious ages. Wonderful things can happen. Does it always have to be acid rain? Followed by drought? Yeah. And more, if the world is godless. Followed by dirty bombs, followed by chemical warfare. Everybody in America right now is buying duct tape. There's no duct tape left anymore because the government came out and told them we're going to get hit big time with the chemicals or the biochemical. People are taping up their windows to try to keep it out, or a dirty nuke. And it's a huge threat. The stores are being emptied out. The government came itself and told how much canned food and water you must have. Everybody. This isn't like a Y2K buzz even. It's military officers standing on the TV. We're going to get hit. And there'll be more of it and more of it and more of it. And unfortunately, you people are going to read about it the rest of your life, these young people. Unless there's a change in God consciousness in the world. And it's not headed up by Islam. And neither is Christianity really a candidate. They're at the root of so much destruction and devastation, these two religions. Nor is it the Jews. But there is a glimmer of hope that in Krishna consciousness, there is a glimmer of hope. And then some see that glimmer as a shining hope for the world, that if people become actually God conscious in the form of Krishna consciousness as we know it today, then we could be saved from all these miserable conditions which just seem to be marching upon us like an army that can't be put in retreat. And it would be possible maybe someday flower petals would rain from the sky again. It used to happen when people were pious, when they worshiped the Supreme Lord. We have heard these stories and they almost seem like stories. They couldn't have possibly happened. Somebody asked me once, what was the most impressive thing about Sridhar Maharaj? Because that person had heard many things about Prabhupada, but he never heard anything much about Sridhar Maharaj. So he asked me. So I said, honestly, Prabhu, it was his affection. It was so consuming. It was so overwhelming. I can't say as I experienced anything exactly like it. Certainly all the devotees are affectionate. Certainly Prabhupada was affectionate. But this was overwhelming. So, he, Srila Puri Maharaj, others, great souls. If we went back and met all the great souls, Bhaktivinoda, Narottam Das Thakur, you find the bulk of most of them are an ocean of knowledge. Right? They have great knowledge, great understanding, great awareness. But as one devotee said, what is the most important quality of Guru? What quality should you look for in Guru? So generally we think, well, one who knows the process of Krishna consciousness, one who follows it strictly, and there's things to consider in looking for Guru. But then he surprised everybody. He said, Kripa Sindhu, the ocean of mercy. Look for this quality, because nothing else will save you. He might have so much knowledge. What good's that going to do you? You're a fallen soul, a sinful rascal. You need help. You need mercy. What if your guru is very learned, but he only wants to associate with other learned persons? You're out the door. He said, if you analyze, this is the main quality, Kripa Sindhu, an ocean of mercy. We should look for mercy, kindness. Mercy manifests not just in, some external thing. He's very kind, he allows me to stay in his ashram or something like that. Mercy ultimately comes to affection, love. All living entities want love, they all want affection. And to receive this from Krishna, the agency of Guru, this is the supreme shelter in life. When we find that, then we have come to our shelter. Knowledge is not our shelter. Knowledge destroys our lower doubts. But our highest doubt is, I won't be dealt with properly in the plane of love. That is a doubt. I'm afraid to give my heart. I may be cheated. Knowledge destroys the lower doubts. What is a soul and reincarnation? And so many things. Even the process of devotion. What is Vaidhi Bhakti? What is Raganuga? There must be some knowledge of that. That removes lower doubt and ignorance. But this mercy, this affection and love, this removes the last doubt. And that is, I won't be dealt properly. I won't be dealt with properly in the world of love. We all have that bitter experience. Cheated. Cheated by a friend. Cheated by a spouse. Cheated by a brother, a sister. Cheated means the heart wrenched away. What happens when a man finds out his wife somewhere else? Recently this lady killed her husband in USA. Ran over the guy 4 times with a car. Cheated. You see? Everyone has this doubt. But when we come in the connection of pure love and affection and the mercy of Guru, that doubt goes away. And ultimately that's what we're all searching for. Sri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Govindaji Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram.